is Virtual Math Manipulatives Student Perspective of the Effectiveness of Polypad. It's a lot to say. So my name is Christine Dixon, and I currently teach with an online middle school. So since COVID, my school district continued with online learning as an option this year. And like many people, learned a lot, and Polypad and this topic is something I definitely wanted to jump into. So my research problem comes from online learning being something we all had to really just jump right into with the onset of COVID, but also me as a special education teacher thinking about how I could translate accommodations to the online setting. Things like the reading and writing accommodations lend themselves really well to the online setting with built-in things already that students knew how to use. My district, they have one-to-one Chromebooks, and students were already using their read-write toolbar with things, and that was easy. But I found a major hiccup with math accommodations being much trickier to translate in the online setting. So that's where my problem came from. And so my research question was, what is the effectiveness of utilizing Polypad as a math accommodation in the virtual setting? And I know you're probably thinking right now, what is Polypad? And I'll get to that, I promise. First, for my literature review, I just dug into really what causes math learning disabilities, and also what are some common interventions with those. So much of the research just talks about how it's with numbers and being able to look at them. A lot of students have trouble processing, being able to really understand them on that level, but also the working memory, and a lot of math builds on the concepts. So if they're struggling with some of the earlier concepts and the later concepts, it's hard to all kind of keep that going. Especially I work with middle school and high school students, so continuing to be able to work with them in that way. Common interventions, I listed them here, but the one I really want to focus on for my research topic was that of manipulatives, because that's the most common accommodation written in my students' IEPs, is access to math manipulatives, to have that hands-on, something tangible with working with that, with those with their math skills, to work it out. And that can help. It helps build then that representational relationship and also that working memory by having that manipulative to work with. And I just saw so much research on how effective manipulatives are to helping students understand math concepts. And the two types of manipulatives that all the research really talks about is concrete and virtual. So concrete is in real life, you have it there physically. So I have a picture of paper fraction strips, very common, easy. You can just make it. But there are plenty of different types of manipulatives, but I just want to focus on fraction bars to compare the two here. Virtual is on the computer, so they're manipulating it by moving the pieces, but it's on a computer and they have to click things. And there's a lot less research on virtual manipulatives just because technology, it's advancing in education, and accommodations such as this. It's like we're catching up now with where we are at in reality. So the emerging research did say, though, that virtual manipulatives have more effectiveness with secondary students, so middle school and high school students who might be embarrassed to have something on their desk that's making them look different, may do better with something on the computer because it's a lot more discreet and they're getting the support they need with a virtual manipulative. So now, Transition to Polypad is a website I heard about, I think, the end of last year, just by one of my students, actually. They said, hey, I had a teacher who used it, and I'm like, what is that? And I looked it up, and it is really cool, but it is a website. It has a whole bunch of different math tools. It's free, it's powered by Mathicon, and anybody can go on and use it, but then you can create a free account. You can save templates, you can make assignments, all this stuff within there, and I hope they keep it free forever. But I just was curious because it's something I like, and I think, hey, how will my students, how will they respond to it? And then just to show a little bit how it does look, so this is what the site looks like, and here's an example of that I went through, so there's no sound, but it's just me showing that if you're like balancing an equation. So this is something my students really have struggled with. And if I said, okay, x plus 2 equals 3, you set it up, they have a little balancing scale that you put out, so I put the tiles on there. And then I teach them to say, okay, to get x by itself, oh, and you balance it. It's really cool. I don't know how they did it all, but then I say, okay, get x by itself. So you take off 2 from that side, but wait, you gotta take 2 from the other side. And then this is a visual representation of then we say, okay, x equals 1. I can type in my answer this way. So that's just one example of how Polypad can work, but there are many, many different tools within it. Okay. Oh, it's still going. There we go. So my research design was a qualitative study. I just really wanted to get the student perspective and feedback because with online learning, I'm so disconnected from the students. I really just want to focus on how are they feeling, what's working, what's not, and how can I make their experience better. I was able to get some recorded Google Meets from 6th and 7th graders, and I work with 6th, 7th, and 8th graders. All of those I were able to get written feedback from as they work through assignments on grade level standards. The standards I picked were based on what I actually talked with our district math curriculum lead, and I said, what things in person would they have the most like physical manipulatives that they would be working with that would be helpful and really want to, that are really priority standards that we want to make sure that we're reinforcing in the online setting. So this was plotting coordinates for 6th graders, adding positive and negative integers in 7th grade because they would be using like the chips in person. 8th grade, it was graphing lines in slope-intercept form. And just a quick example of what that looks like. 6th grade, here's they were plotting, and this is an actual student's work, so they plotted points and labeled them with Polypad. The 7th grade assignment with the adding integers, there's this bucket where like you drag the negative in there and it shows it balances a bucket. My student, he really liked that, so that was fun to watch him do that. And then 8th grade, their slope-intercept lines on the coordinate plane. So overall, I reviewed the students' their students' feedback from the interviews and the recordings, and the main themes I found were touchiness of tools, switching between tabs, and finding specific buttons. Were the main things all students talked about is they would say that out loud. It's like, oh, I didn't mean to click that, or oh, it's really annoying switching between if I had like a Google form assignment and then a Polypad work. It's hard to translate because you're thinking something and then you forget what you're thinking, and then finding specific buttons because while Polypad has a lot, it's a ton on there and can get really overwhelming for the students. So here's just an example of student progress. This was a student, his first assignment compared to his last one. And you notice there's all these buttons. He used the random highlighter. I don't even know what he was doing. And then at the end, it was much more streamlined, but you may notice he's still the concept. This is the most common switching up X and Y. I still know, I can see exactly what I need to work with him compared to, I didn't know what I even needed to start with that first one. Then this is my teacher progress. It started out with all these buttons, and then I learned over time, with each assignment, I can adjust buttons and make it less stuff be available for them. So that's, as the students learned, I learned too. And the implications for this, just overall, the students, they really liked this. They said it was much more involved. They used Edgenuity, and if anyone else is familiar with that, it's just a lot of multiple choice and videos, and they said this really put them, they felt much more engaged in the learning. Then just talking with the students through each assignment that they did helped me see, okay, for the next one, I'm gonna make those adjustments based on what they said, and that was just really helpful. But then to just also realize Polypad is just one site. There are plenty of other tools out there, but that's like, also you don't want to overwhelm the students either, and helping, knowing that focusing on this can help, focusing on one tool can help alleviate a lot of frustrations on both the student and the teacher end. So in conclusion, I found that when it comes to Polypad, I think it is effective. It has definitely a lot of potential, but again, both